I'm worried about Bone Lab's future and some of Stress Level Zero's philosophies as a whole. This isn't some hate video on SLZ or anything like that. This is just a genuine concern I have due to some of Brandon's recent messaging. This mainly stems from this message from Brandon saying, tens of billions of dollars being spent to create a Steve Jobs moment just for it to get piped straight into Fusion. On the surface, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with this message, and you may even see it as a positive thing. But looking a bit deeper, this is extremely upsetting for what it kind of implies. The reason this disappoints me is that it almost feels like SLZ is implying that some of the tech they're working on isn't for their games on their own, but for Fusion specifically, which is a little ridiculous. If Stress Level Zero are such fans of Fusion and they're making changes to their single player game for it, why isn't multiplayer in the base game? We know and have known for a long time that Fusion is very much enjoyed by at least some of the SLZ team. Cam has been seen in some lobbies, and Brandon just confirmed that they have Fusion installed in the office. So if Stress Level Zero agrees that Bone Lab is a better game with multiplayer as well, then why isn't it included in the base game? Maybe because it's a little late for that and we already have Fusion for Bone Lab. Sure, I can respect, understand, and even agree with that. But what about the next game? Could we get multiplayer then? Well, I asked Brandon JLA this exact question with this message where I said, if you guys agree Fusion is so awesome, which it is, why not implement some form of multiplayer into the base games / future titles? The reply from Brandon was, it's a long explanation, but it's the best for VR's progress. Multiplayer equals monetization, overall progress over profits. This message was a little confusing since, we already have Fusion and such, so I asked, do you mean monetization in other games? Because if you guys were to implement the multiplayer yourselves, I don't see why you would necessarily have to turn it into a monetization type of thing. Just look at Fusion, for example. I don't know if I'm maybe misunderstanding something here though, to which the question was mostly ignored, which is fair. There were a lot of people asking stuff at this time. A little later, Brandon did say something I'm not entirely sure the context of, stating, it's not ready yet, and I want to leave you guys with the best I can make. Requires patience, but it'll be worth it. Cookie dough is good, but it'll be better when baked. Again, I don't know if this is in reference to the multiplayer thing, but if it is, why can't we just have the cookie dough now while the cookies are baking? That's exactly what Fusion does, and we all agree it's awesome. I know some of you are going to say that it's because it would take away from development time, and it takes a lot of resources and effort, and you're completely right, it does. And if Brandon just said that, I'd understand. But when asked this question directly, his response was multiplayer equals monetization, overall progress over profits. Not that it would take away from other things they want to work on, and not that it wouldn't be worth the time and effort to them. I'm not asking for Bone Lab to get a magic multiplayer update, I'm asking for future titles to not require Lakatraz to make it fun and fulfilling. He's not on the payroll, this shouldn't be his responsibility, and expecting him to just implement your new features for you that are practically designed for his mod, like eyes that track the player, almost feels like taking advantage of him. Yeah, we can pump out this cool feature. It won't add much to the game on its own, but it'll be really cool when Lakatraz implements it for us. That just kind of feels shitty. I don't know if I'm talking crazy here, but should this not be SLZ's responsibility? I'm absolutely willing to give them a pass for Bone Lab, but it certainly doesn't sound like multiplayer is coming in the future officially. So if they make a borderline multiplayer game in the future and don't add multiplayer because they know Lakatraz will do it, then I feel like that's fucked up. It makes me curious as to what would happen if Lakatraz never made Fusion. Would some of these features even be added? Would SLZ add multiplayer themselves? Or would the only reason to still play this game for this long simply not exist? Apparently, Bone Lab has 391,000 active players and Fusion only has 378,000 downloads total, which likely means that there's a lot of active players who don't use Fusion. But my question is kind of why? Is it just kids who don't mind the extreme lack of content and are happy with playing a physics sandbox alone until the end of time? Maybe Bone Lab would still have lots of players on Quest if Fusion never existed, but I very much doubt it would have the same passionate community of people when most of them mainly play Fusion. And to check that, I asked some of the most passionate people in the community if they would play Bone Lab nearly as much as they do if we lived in a world without Fusion, and here are some of their answers. Hazy, creator of Breach, said, "I have 500 hours and about 5 of them are single player." Hunter MVPZ, creator of a bunch of big mods, said probably not, as he'd only get on to test the mods he was making himself, and even further elaborated, hoping SLZ would add Fusion themselves, despite knowing nothing about this video other than the question I asked him. Wigwam said absolutely not. Downloadable Content straight up said no, Fusion is the whole game at this point. Swipes couldn't even remember the last time he booted his game just to play alone, but did add he'd still probably make mods. And hell, I even asked Lakatraz himself if he for some reason wasn't able to make Fusion, if he'd still be playing, to which he said he definitely wouldn't play as much, but would still get on to make other mods. So we are all seemingly in agreement that Fusion is at the very least a giant portion of the fun of this game. So why must it remain a mod that only so many can get access to? Even besides all of this, Fusion being a mod also directly prevents how much better the multiplayer could be. Since it's not built in, the FPS will always take a hit, and there will always be less players than there could be if the game just came with it. It's pretty hard to find a public lobby playing Deathmatch or even Smash Bones, but if those 391,000 active Quest users didn't need a PC and some complicated ass setup, you'd probably always be able to find a match in seconds. So then why? Why won't SLZ add multiplayer into their future games? I understand Bone Lab, but why are they seemingly almost dismissive of the idea as a whole? Because it's a long explanation, but it's the best for VR's progress. Multiplayer equals monetization, overall progress over profits. Well, in this same conversation period, Brandon also said, "The only reason we've gotten this far is because we can say no to everything and just cook. So then if you guys are able to say no to everything, then why not say no to a monetization focused multiplayer? Fusion doesn't have a fucking battle pass or anything. It's completely free and focused on being purely fun more than anything else. Surely I must be missing something because this simply doesn't make any sense to me." Again, this video isn't to just sit here and bash SLZ. It's simply to express a concern that seems pretty valid based on some wording and actions we've seen. But actions speak louder than words, and it's still absolutely possible none of this winds up being a problem in the future. This worry is more for the game after the next game SLZ is making, since we know the very next one is going to be a single player narrative focused type of game. I simply hope that the very next game, B-Side, is properly single player and doesn't feel like it's missing multiplayer like Bone Lab did. I don't want to play it and feel like the game doesn't have multiplayer because they know Lakatraz will put it in for them. That just feels really shitty. I want to play the next game and really feel like multiplayer wouldn't make sense for it. I want them to take advantage of the fact that it's single player. And whether they do or don't, regardless, right now, all we can do is wait and make sure our voice is heard a little bit and that this concern is expressed so that maybe we can avoid a potential disaster. But that's all I have to say regarding this potential issue. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my last one. It's 20 minutes of Bone Lab's funniest moments. It's just everything compiled into one video, edited to be, you know, fast, quick, and all the best stuff. No filler, just straight to it. You can get 10% off the entire Quest store using the link in the description. It's the best way to support the channel, and it's literally free money for you if you plan on buying a Quest game, and literally free money for me if you want to support my channel. With all that nonsense out of the way, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you next time, fat bitches. Bye-bye!